Hi guys, I'm ExactChaos and welcome back to another video in the Airport CEO Tips series. Today we're going to have a look at aircraft traffic. And so last episode we did talk a little bit about the layout of a terminal building, basic terminal building, and your basic access layout over here. We'll probably discuss road traffic and especially maybe service road traffic in a little bit more detail in another episode. But today we are talking aircraft traffic. So when you are building your airport, you always need to kind of plan out where your planes are going to go because it gets really busy. Your first kind of couple of stands is never a problem, and you see a bit of waiting planes and things like that. It's always not a problem. It just delays things a little bit, but it's not a problem in general. But if you are going to grow the airport substantially to something maybe this size where you have 20, 30, 40 stands maybe, you definitely want to have an efficient layout where planes are not going to delay one another all the time. So you need to do some planning. So basic planning is get yourself a runway. Decide which side you're going to want the planes to take off from, and land from, and then so go into the runway and get off of the runway. Okay, and there's also the differentiation between the larger planes that need the full extent of an 800-meter runway to get off, or the smaller planes that can get off kind of midway, well, just after midway, basically like a 600-meter stretch or something. So do prepare for all of those scenarios so that you can open the runway as quickly as possible. That is something that's really important. You need to get planes off the runway as quickly as possible. I've seen situations where people have planes that land, turn around, drive the full extent of the runway, and then go off. And that is just crazy. You want them off of the runway as quickly as possible so that you can get another plane to land or take off. So what did I do here with my runway and with my taxiways? So first things first, generally you would want your taxiways to be on both sides of the runway. That gives you a lot of flexibility. That means you can turn it around, get the planes to come in from this side, come in from the other side, all these kind of things. But it also sets you up for a nice one-way system. So that's part of it. If you had planes come on here and fly off and get off over here, then all of a sudden there'd be some questions around what's happening on this piece of road right over here, or this piece of taxiway right over here, especially if you're expanding into this direction and you start seeing planes trying to do that and crisscross and all these kind of things. Okay, so that's kind of what you want to do. So you want to give yourself a taxiway on both sides of the runway. Then you want to, well, I want to, but then I would suggest you also give yourself taxiways that do not have stands on them, especially close to the runway. Don't start with something like this where planes are getting off and immediately you have stands on there. You want to give yourself a little bit of a buffer. Why? Because things at stands get slow. So you might have 10 stands here and these planes are leaving one after the other, and so oncoming planes can't get in because of that kind of reason. There's all kinds of stuff that you just want to make sure that you keep it as efficient as possible. So what is going to happen at this area, and I'll show you, we'll fast forward to a working version of this, and I'll show you. So what you're going to want to do is you want a runway where planes are landing. So land from the top of the screen in this scenario to the bottom. They get off as quickly as possible. Small planes over here, medium planes over there, and then they come over here. That's the only thing they can do. So you can, of course, take your runway entrance and exit and switch the operational mode to both directions, just the exit or just the entry. And I would certainly recommend that you use this. So in this case, just the exit. Same over here, just the exit. Okay, so that means automatically this will become kind of a one-way operation. What you also want to do is, if you've got the little airplane, and what do they call it? Let's have a look. What do they call these things? Taxiway pathway nodes. You click it, you right click it, and you can say set as one way, set as two way. Use them, they're your friend. It's as simple as that. Set as one way, and if it's the wrong one, you just click it again and it turns around, or you set it as two way. Use it as your friend. So there you go. Planes get off, come over this way, and from here they can only go, well, they can go in all directions basically. So what's happening over here? This is 2 additional one-way taxiways and a 2-way section. So basically I can have stands over here, have this plane come all the way over here, go over here, and then this section is a section of 2-way. Having 2-way sections of taxiway is not the end of the world, but you need to bear in mind that this is less efficient. So let's say one of the planes from over here somewhere wants to get out and another one wants to get in here somewhere. That means these planes will have to wait for one another. So one will come here, wait at this point until this guy gets out, or vice versa. This one will stay in its stand or just kind of pull out, and this guy will come around that way. And we'll kind of look into that in a little bit more detail. So what else is happening over here? This little taxiway path over here is going back to the takeoff area, going back to the runway, so to allow a takeoff. So basically it means that from this 2-way section, if a plane from this area over here comes back, they could either go there or go there, but for some reason the pathing takes the first access point, I think. So what tends to happen is they go around this way, go straight through there, and then run through there. So unobstructed by anything along here. Okay. When other planes come and they want to kind of park over here somewhere, they will just continue straight over there and park. And in this case, as they pull out, they will not come back and go this way, they will run that way. So what am I doing here? I am splitting the traffic from this side of the terminal building and the traffic from this side of the terminal building into different taxiways. So this side of the terminal building, it's using this taxiway to get to the runway. And this side of the terminal building over here is using this side of the taxiway. So here they merge, and obviously they queue and interact and all these kind of good things, but there's not a lot of congestion on this side where we've also got planes coming in. The last thing you want is for them to all be clumped up over here using a single junction, trying to get onto the runway at the same spot, and the outgoing planes and the incoming planes are all kind of messed up and slowed down by all of that. So let's quickly flash to something that is a setup piece and functional, so I can show you about that. Okay, so now this airport section that I've showed you is up and running, and so you can see that you've got all of this happening. Planes coming in all the time and planes getting serviced and then leaving to go and take off. So over here you've got your small planes, your medium planes. Medium planes are going up this way. Oh, and we're de-icing because it's pretty cold at the moment. So they go through here, then they come back and they come in here and they take off. And again, other planes come and land. Yeah, so as you can see over here, I've got my medium stands up here. Okay, sorry, let's just see, just to track this guy. As he comes through here, he's gonna go through there and in here. As you saw, this guy didn't actually wait for it because they didn't need to. They could path in a different direction. So here you go, and they kind of all go up here. The smaller ones from this side. See, over here, you have some waiting happening because this is a little 2-way section. That guy is going straight over there. So there's a lot of efficiency to not have them use the same piece over here. So there you go, all the way this way. They're still queuing over here because the runway is pretty busy. So they are still queuing, but the rest is happening. No stopping apart from when the game lags. Then it all happens. Okay, so as you can see over here, I've got my medium stands served by the jetways. And we've got all the various services happening over here. We've got some, and I'll show you upstairs as well. So that's the jetway access to these stands. Downstairs is the access to the the smaller stands over here, as well as access to the remote kind of bus terminal pieces. This side we've got the medium stands, small stands. Man, I mess this up all the time. The small stands on this side directly onto the terminal, and that side remote stands. And I'll have another little video with tips on how to do remote stands and what you need and the ratios and all these kind of things. But for now, this is kind of the setup that you've got going. So what I'm trying to say is avoid two-way taxiways as far as possible. because they're quite inefficient if planes start waiting for one another to make use of the same little section. Over here, much more efficient. Everybody's got their own little thing, and they only start waiting when they get over here at the runway for their little takeoff slot. But that is, again, quite manageable in general. So what you need to do if you're planning out a larger airport, so as you see, I told you about this little area. As you plan out a larger airport, you may have tons of this kind of stuff that needs to happen. So let's have a look. This one takes off from the top of the screen to the bottom. Then this one from the right to the left. And this one from the bottom to the top. Why? Because that allows a certain rotation to happen. That means planes landing over here can quite easily serve this entire section and not have to drive up this way. Okay. Planes that land, and then these planes also don't have to compete with all the other planes over here. Then what is happening over here? So planes land from the right to the left. They get off, and I have not decided which side is which side, but I believe what I'll probably do is this side will be the exit, and to be honest, this side I'm not going to use this side, because this is not where we don't want people to get off on this side potentially. I am missing the kind of midway mark. Okay, so the midway mark, actually, to be honest, that's probably not required. It can also get off on this side. So that's just a two potential thing. But you have to test these things. So this one hasn't been tested yet, so I don't quite know. But it seems like if I don't want them to feed in here, it might be more efficient for me to run them straight down there and down in this direction to go to the stands that I will put in here eventually. Okay? So maybe this little loop is unnecessary over there. What then happens is, as they would leave from this side, the intention would be that I would run them two-way this way, or, I mean, one way this way, or I would run them one way that way. Maybe this section is two-way, probably. And then I would run them up here towards there and onto here and to take off again. Okay, you don't want to start messing up with this area, so probably this is the routing that we would intend. If they need to de-ice, they would de-ice through this way and then still go up there. Okay. Still, I've got the other side as a bit of a benefit if I wanted to loop them around. So if the queue gets a little bit longer, I can kind of loop them around to that side. Okay. So that's kind of the intention. So airlines from here, or airplanes from here, can feed all of the stands that I'm going to have in this area eventually. Okay. Now, the final piece over here is, again, it kind of takes off from the bottom to the top, so lands from the bottom to the top. So you've got this kind of route. So these guys get in here, they get off if they're a small plane, or over here if they're a large plane. Then they can loop back down. Again, I would like this to be a bit of a one-way arrangement. They can use all of these parking bays over there. If it's a small plane, they can run off this side over here, and then they can go this side to the smaller stands. So big planes around here to all of these stands right here. Small planes around here, down there, and to all of these stands that I'll have over here. When they leave, okay, when they leave, the big planes from here will run down here, okay, down all the way to the bottom, come up this side, and then they will join here and take off. Same thing with the small ones. They will go down here, all the way down there, and take off. And as you can see, again, I've got some de-icing pads ready right over here, and we will discuss de-icing and all the other services in another video. But for now, that is kind of a few tips on how you would lay out your taxiways and runways and make sure that your aircraft traffic works quite effectively. If you have liked this episode, I would very much appreciate if you hit that like button. Tell me how you deal with aircraft traffic down below in the comments. Do you double up on taxiways? Do you just use one? Do you use the taxiway that is feeding onto the stands? Or do you use separate taxiways? Do you do taxiways on both sides of your runways? Do you do a one-way arrangement all around, or do you do two-way? Just tell me. I would love to hear what works for you. One ways tend to work best for me. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next tips video that will be coming out. Bye-bye.